On traders, it's Kyle from K Capital. It's about 6:45 on Tuesday, July 21st. Apologies last night for not being able to post a video. I had a few technical issues, but nonetheless, let's get right into it. First thing I wanted to do is go over XOMA. We closed this yesterday for an 8% gain. Decent, but kind of disappointing. I expected more out of this. We entered in the low fours right in the midpoint here when this retraced. Similar to what I'm seeing now in a few of our open positions, you have this huge breakout candle and high volume. And one thing I look for is, all right, well, we don't want to buy at the top. Let's wait for this to pull back, bounce off support. We can kind of find a nice, decent entry to kind of hope for a continuation in the overall trend. As you can see here, this is pretty much flatlined over the past couple of quarters. Volume has incrementally stepped up quarter over quarter, and one thing I really caught my eye is the fact that it had a huge volume spike. So we bought, I think, at 404 or 405, watched this rally all the way back up to 450, and then traded sideways for a little bit and started to form, a bullish flag or pennant formation over the last week. And one thing I was hoping was for this to kind of break, but given the volatility in the market over the last couple of weeks, one thing I definitely wanted to protect here was our gain. And so when this broke down yesterday and then today it even broke down more, I wanted to lock in the gain, and we sold for an 8% return. Again, that's in a couple of days. So I'll take that return in this market, given the volatility across the board. So congrats to the traders who closed that position and who entered that position with us. It might be a candidate to potentially re-enter. If this level holds and it trades sideways, we see a nice volume spike. It might be something that before the earnings call on the 6th of August, we could potentially enter. But more to come on that, so let's stay tuned. Next, let's get to our open positions right now, all of which traded very nicely today. First with Chris. Chris, we locked in 17% already. We sold roughly half the shares. This is trading really great for the time being. Yesterday and the day prior, kind of was a little top heavy. It sold off yesterday with the overall market, but found a nice level of support here, right around the 350 range, which I've been talking about that level for a few weeks now. And really, that's a nice solid area of support. So I think this is going to be a really nice play for us long term. By long term, I mean probably the next week. The reason I'm a little hesitant is because of earnings. I hate holding through earnings. There are too many fundamental factors at play when you hold through an earnings call that it's very, very risky. So I'm not really sure what we're going to do with this yet. We'll see how this trades for the next, technically 2 weeks. And hopefully, we break 315, rally to 4. That'll be a nice gain for us. I would definitely take that. I think that would be pushing right around 30% if it hit 4. But no really updates on this besides, it pretty much played out exactly as we expected today. So let's keep watching this and see what happens. Something that actually did a little bit similar pattern today was Gurn. Again, another one that has earnings coming up, I think 4 days after Chris. So what I'm looking at here is this triangle pattern. And really, this has been a really nice play. And one thing I'm going to highlight that I have not highlighted before with Gurn is that if you look, this kind of did something similar to why we entered into XOMA and why we entered into MYY. Nice big breakout here. Pulled back, midpoint of the candle would be a great entry. Someone probably made a decent amount of coin going from mid threes, 326 to 449 in roughly a week. But ever since then, it's really followed this pattern all the way up to, right around the 426 range where we're at today. And as you can see, this pattern is getting tighter and tighter week over week. Typically, what I've seen in the past over the last couple of years is when patterns like this form, they'll eventually pop. And they'll usually pop, depending upon the overall market, but pop up. They'll follow that trend. So if the trend's bullish and it's upwards, they'll usually follow a pattern similar to that, and they'll go north. So hopefully to 5. Again, I'm expecting this or hoping for this to happen before the next earnings call, but we're going to continue to watch it. We have a little bit of a profit in this for the time being, but it's a great trade for the time being. Let's see what happens and keep a close eye on this guy as well. Continuing with our other alerts, we have ACLS. So I broke this down in our dashboard today for members, and what you can see is, if you zoom out a little bit, you can see an overall bullish trend, which is great. This has been on pretty much a nice tear since the ones. It's somewhat following this pattern here. It's broke through it, I think, twice, but always recovered. And one thing that I'm really hoping for is that 294 continues to hold. It's touched this level a few times over the last week, and it's always bounced back. And so I'm hoping that this triangle pattern holds, and what even furthermore, if you look at it from a long-term pennant standpoint, you can see that this trend is really holding. It's basically bounced off of this 3 or 4 times over the last probably month and a half. So again, everything here screams bullish pattern to me. The earnings calls are, again, coming up. We're entering earnings season, so it's always very, very advantageous to be cautious when you're entering earnings season. But for the time being, we're going to hold this. We entered in the low 3s, so we're basically flat, maybe down 1% or 2. No reason to sell right now as long as 294 continues to hold. Continuing on to our other alerts, I believe we have WYY, which we just opened yesterday or the day prior. This has a nice bullish chart as well. If you want to zoom all the way out, you can see we basically broke through 190 support recently, hit 203, pulled back, which is expected after a rally from 145 to 203. Pulled back, more or less broke out, again on nice volume, completely bullish candle here. And similar to the positions we just talked about, what I would expect is a pullback. And for buyers to be sitting right around this level, the $2 level. And the reason that buyers probably would be sitting here is because this served as really resistance before. People probably sold off here as it bounced off of that resistance, bought in here, and they're going to, of course, take profits when something spikes this high. So I'm thinking that this will hold as basically our support for the next couple days. And then running into earnings, I think this probably will continue sideways and then rally up to hopefully 250. That would be a super nice trade for us. So I think it's something that if fundamentally there isn't any major news, and the only reason I say that is they released some news with a deal which was bullish regarding Samsung and a new contract that they potentially have. This could rally all the way up to 3 if they release another task order or purchase order that they have with Samsung, but I haven't seen or heard anything in regards to that. So technically, I think this is a great setup. I think we entered at 210 to 11 range, so we're sitting on a little bit of a loss, but this traded with the overall market the past 2 days. And as you can see, the lows on the day were bought right into, which is obviously a very bullish signal. So I think this is a nice chart for us. It's definitely a nice setup. I think all the positions we're currently in are, we can talk about SD very quickly, but again, SD is just really breaking down across the board. This is a long-term play for us. I think our average position now is right around $1.10 to $1.13. We average down on this in the 70s. And again, this is a fundamental long-term call option really on crude. Sandridge has a lot of the concerns, in my opinion, completely mitigated. They closed their bond deal. They have liquidity. They're cutting back on CapEx. And, I don't think cash is really a concern for them through 2016. The other concern that I've read about fundamentally is them being delisted. For a company to get delisted, they have at least 280-day extensions. It's not like you trade under $1 for 30 days and NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange or S&P comes to you and says, okay, you're delisted 30 days after trading below $1. It just doesn't work that way. The company has a plan, and really when you work with the SEC, you have to just really show them and walk them through that plan. And really it's just a matter of time before either crude bounces back or all of their concerns are addressed in earnings calls, which is coming up in, 2 weeks technically. I'm going to listen into this call. I'm definitely going to listen into this to see what exactly happens. I think it's going to be a good call. I think that they're going to very clearly lay out their plan across the board for the next couple quarters, and if not 2 or 3 years. I think they have to, because I think all of the sell side analysts are going to be pretty much all over these guys looking for answers. So again, I'm not really concerned about it. I know obviously bankruptcy is always a risk with a play like this, especially as crude continues to trade down. But as we kind of briefly discussed, I think this is a very good buying opportunity, to be honest. I probably won't average down again, considering we are, I think we averaged in right around 71 cents. So I don't think I'm going to average in again unless this continues to drop. But if you have any questions on this, I know a few of you traders are in this position for the long term. Obviously, shoot me a question. I can walk you through the fundamentals. But if not, we will talk soon. I'll post this to the website shortly. And I'm going to start our scans for the night. Hopefully find some more opportunities to the long side here. Actually, one, now that I just reminded myself, is INUV. So a member actually brought this to my attention, and it's a really nice setup. As I outlined, I think last night, the only thing that's concerning is the volume is very low. When you're trading roughly 200,000 shares a day, it's very risky of a position. Granted, this is a nice bullish chart, but I'm not really sure I like the liquidity. And earnings are less than a week away. So this is the only thing that has held me back from this position. I'm going to watch it again tomorrow morning. Might be a quick either day trade or 1 or 2 day trade at best. So stay tuned with that, but let's keep our eye on this tomorrow morning as well. Again, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, please shoot me an email. I'm happy to help. Talk soon. See you guys.